Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma and I'm here with my good friend Martin. And
Hello.
Today we are going to be talking about the 40k World Team Championship qualification tournament that we went to last weekend. So just quickly, Martin, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure I can. Like Emma said, I'm Martin. I've played 40k for about 15 years or something like that now. I play a lot of armies, mostly Imperial armies, with a side helping of Eldar, apparently. And I have a lot of models, apparently.
Yeah.
A very great deal of models.
Yeah, you can't see all of them in the cabinets behind us, but he's got like 31 painted knights and a huge collection of Space Marines.
And this isn't even half of it.
No, it's quite a lot.
I mean, models are nice.
Yeah, well, they are, true. So what's the VTC that we went to last weekend?
All right, the event we went to is we call it the VTC qualifications. It's not the official name, but it's a tournament that we use in Denmark to set up our national team for the VTC.
Yeah.
And for people not to know, the VTC is a bit different than the ITC. It's a team-based tournament. It's basically a world team championships tournament.
Yeah, for 40k.
In which each nation sends a team of 8 people. And pairings is a bit different than the ITC. For the teams, it's the same. When you pair up, say, Switzerland against Sweden, for instance. But once the teams meet, they pair up their individual players in a very specific way in this.
Yeah.
And what we played was the qualification for the Danish team. That's the way we set our team every year.
Yeah.
And this is a specialized format that uses only 5 people, though.
Yeah, true. And we both, of course, got accepted immediately into the Danish national team.
Yeah, of course we did.
Sort of.
Or maybe not.
Okay, so I'm a relatively new player and I've never been to the VTC qualification before. And you have been how many times?
5 times now.
5 times. So you have helped me and a lot of other new people by like writing a whole big list and giving us all sorts of suggestions as to how to prepare for this. And so I thought that was a really cool idea, also for a video. So we are going to do like 5 tips for people going to this is specifically for the VTC qualification team championship, but you can also just do it for like individual tournaments, and it doesn't have to be 40k.
Yeah, these tips will work for any game system mode, unless you have something very, very specific for that system.
True. All right. So tip number 1.
Yeah, tip number 1 is preparation, actually. And obviously it goes without saying that you have to prep your army and all that stuff, but this is anything beyond this. This is like prepping your transport there, booking perhaps a stay at a friend's or at a hotel. It's bringing extra dice, some glue, bringing all the stuff you need, and having a snack in your bag, possibly a soda or something, because if you're going to a 2-day or maybe even a 3-day tournament, you're gonna run out of steam at some point, and you're gonna need a bit of pick-me-up.
Yeah.
So having that snack you can eat while you're playing, or that soda you can crack open, it's very helpful.
Yeah.
Bring a dice, not a dice tray, dice trays are nice as well, but bring a tray to carry your models around in between games.
That was actually, I think, one of the best suggestions you gave was with this tray to carry around your models, because I had completely underestimated how much time you're actually going to be spending, getting your models out and putting them back into like a box or whatever. And especially if you're going to a tournament and you have a big army like I do, I have like 100 models or something like that.
Yeah, it's fairly big.
Yeah. It's just going to take a lot of time if you don't come prepared for how to transport them between the tables of to and from the individual games.
Yeah. And I mean, once the model dies in the game, you can take them off the table and put them on the tray.
Yeah.
Makes it very easy to bring it around.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, if you're like a very rich person, you can just buy a Magna rack and you're all set. But you can also do like DIY stuff. I bought like a metal sheet in a DIY store and cut it up, and then I use that as a tray. It works really well.
Mine's a tray from IKEA, but like you said, Magna racks as well will do the same job the same way, actually.
Yeah, and usually I just have all my orcs in boxes with sort of packaging foam, and it works well if you're just going to play a single game at your local club and you have all the time in the world. And I would have definitely just brought them like that if you hadn't told me. That is probably something you're going to regret.
Yeah, you're going to underestimate how important a tray is.
Yeah.
Some places will borrow you trays, maybe if you're traveling from very far away. But a tray's not going to cost you much.
No.
If go to IKEA, buy a simple tray there.
Yeah.
It helps a ton.
Absolutely. So that was a really good suggestion. I would also say bring, like, if you are prone to getting headaches, for instance, just bring like a tiny survival kit. Just to make sure that you can get through a day, even if you have get a slight cough or a headache, or if you get thirsty, something like that. So come prepared.
Yeah, come prepared. Bring some nice shoes as well to wear, some comfortable socks, a sweater, t-shirt. Might be hot, might be cold in the hall.
Yeah. Also remember to bring deodorant.
Yeah.
Lots of nerds in a big room.
Yeah. Take a shower. Bring deodorant.
Sure. Tip number 2 is to set your expectations. So have realistic expectations both for yourself and for your team, especially if you're going, of course, to a team tournament. And it goes both for what you're gonna achieve, game-wise, if you're gonna win or lose. Be realistic about that, and also be realistic about the team. What kind of team are you going as? What do you want to get from this tournament?
Absolutely. I mean, for singles tournaments and even for these, you might run into some of the best people playing in the tournament in the first couple of rounds, because it's random in the random drawings on the first round. Second round is mostly Swiss drawn, but again, a very good player might have lost a game badly. So you might end up actually playing some very, very competent people in the first couple of rounds, and they will probably just hand you your ass.
True.
They might have been the nicest, friendliest people around, and you may have had a great time, but they kicked your ass. There's no way around that.
That's definitely what happened to me in the first 2 games. So the VTC score is 0 to 20, and I lost 20-0. 2 times in a row.
and it's rough getting back from that. I mean, that happens, and it's very hard to pick up.
It's just what happens. And I think that's why setting your expectations realistically is just really important, because I know that I'm a relatively new 40k player. I played a tiny bit of 9th, but not. It was just a little bit too complicated for me to really get into. But so I've only really started playing in 10th edition, so I'm a relatively new player, and I also knew that I did not have the ideal list. So I knew before going to the tournament that I was just not gonna win. And the rest of my team was the same. And so we set our expectations so realistically that we nicknamed our team the Meta Losers, because we're going to be losing so bad that it's like a meta thing.
True.
And well, we kind of. How many teams were there at the call?
38, I believe it was, so 190 people.
And I think our team came in second to last.
So you didn't really lose.
We didn't really lose, but almost.
Yeah, but it really helps, especially if you're going to a team event like this, or even just a doubles event or something. Our team usually competes fairly heavily in the upper brackets.
Yeah.
We usually end somewhere in between the top 6, top 10.
We were not on the same team.
No, we were not playing with them. No, but this year we just, because of 10th edition launching and only that many codexes out, and we just want to have a good time this year, we decided to take a much more relaxed approach, which can definitely be seen in our rankings this year. They were terrible, but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And for me personally, the expectation was painting an army.
Yeah, and you did, and it looks really cool on tabletop.
Thanks. But not good enough though. We'll get into that later. Yeah. All right, tip number 3, which goes very well in hand with the last tip. Don't beat yourself up if you lose. Like we said, you might lose very badly in a couple of rounds, but don't beat yourself up. No. It can happen to anybody. You can have a bad game, your dice might not be with you, you might just have a bad matchup. Things can happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you lose 2 or 3 games in a row, that it's rough getting back from that, but it's what happens.
Yeah. And a way of getting sort of back from that is to make some sort of new some sort of new success criteria. So for instance, I had a game where I lost, as I said, I lost 2 games in a row 20-0. So that was rough. The guys I was playing with were completely cool. There was nothing wrong with the games. I was just, I just got my ass kicked, basically. But so I made a criteria for myself that if I could keep just something alive on the tabletop, not be completely tabled, then that would be a success in and of itself. And so that meant that I was really enthusiastically rooting for the last 2 grots I had hiding in sort of a corner of the tabletop. and they didn't do anything, and I couldn't get any points, and I was completely out of the game at that point.
Yeah.
But I was so like cheering those two grots on with such enthusiasm that when the game ended and they were still alive, my opponent was really happy for me as well. He was like, "Oh yeah, well done." It was like, actually, it was really badly done, but it felt like it was well done because yes.
I mean, if you can get your opponent in on the fun thing as well, it's very good. I had I played against an elder player who was very nice, but he beat my ass heavily.
Yeah.
But I had like the Avatar and the Incon barreling down on my list, which was in my deployment zone. It was just an absolute slaughter. So the end goal for me was trying to kill those two models, and I ended up killing the Incon. The Avatar left on 2 wounds, even though the Lord Solar charged them and tried her best. Just couldn't. But that was a fun goal, and my opponent was like, he was really rooting for me to kill those people because he thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, and you can also do like all sorts of weird things. Like I also had a game, not at the tournament, but at another game I had, where we just counted it as a win every time something exploded.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, I think we were disrupting everyone else in the building because we were cheering so loudly. It's like, oh my god, something has died. But did it explode? Yes, yes. So we were so enthusiastic every time something exploded, and it set up like a chain reaction of explosions. It was glorious. So if you can come up with something, and if you can sort of get your opponent to
root for it as well.
Yeah, then it can be actually a really good experience losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they might otherwise be slightly bored kicking your ass that hard though.
Yeah.
So having that
or feel a little bit bad for you, which
Yeah.
is even worse.
Yeah.
So if you can have fun losing, I think that's a great way of preparing for going to a tournament.
Absolutely.
Tip number 4 is to be a good opponent, so show good sportsmanship. And that means, be someone that it's fun to play against. Be someone that you actually enjoy spending a couple of hours rolling dice with. And it can be as simple as something like, don't be, that guy. Be kind, be friendly, be smiling, and be sort of transparent about what you do.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
I mean, your opponent should know what you're trying to do all the time.
Yeah.
And prepare. Tell them what you're doing. Tell them what your army does. Tell them the general gist of what you might have as gotcha moments, special things you can do before the game, possibly even.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I make clear with every opponent I play, unless I roll specifically outside my dice tray, anything that's not on my dice tray, I'll always re-roll. For instance.
Yeah.
Anything that's on terrain, I re-roll as well because it's not on terrain. If it's not flat on the mat or in the dice tray, I'll re-roll it.
Sure,
always.
Exactly.
To
make sure that they know exactly what's going on. I also always make sure when introducing the army to say, okay, so I have the Storm Boys in Deep Strike, and I have a Weird Boy that can jump, so they know that I am able to move around the battlefield a little bit quicker than they might otherwise suspect. So they don't just stand there with that feels really terrible. I just moved in my entire army off the board because I didn't realize that you could then land on my back line. There is no reason to go for gotcha moments. It's no fun for the opponent. So, try to make sure that they understand what your army can do.
True.
And also, I think it also has a little bit to do with the preparation. Bring dice that are easy to read.
Yeah, definitely.
Not just for you. So don't bring like really specialized dice that are, they might be really beautiful, and then you can use them as, counters, wound counters, or to how many command points you have or something. But for like rolling a big bunch of dice, and if they're not readily readable for the opponent, don't use them.
Yeah, true. And I mean, there's a reason why most casinos and so on use black and white dice.
Yeah.
They work. I tend to play with fairly colored dice. I have my pink dice I very much love, but I hear several opponents telling me often that they can't really read the white dots on them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad by that, but I'll just reuse different dice then.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's a bother for my opponent. I don't really want to be an annoying person to play against.
True, and I think the whole sort of the gist of it is you need to be it's a cooperative social game.
It definitely is.
If your opponent isn't enjoying themselves, then you probably aren't either.
No, probably not.
So make sure that sort of the baseline is well prepared, and you know what you want to do, and you know how to explain it to other people, and just don't go for the gotcha moments, and make sure everything is easy to understand. I also think that goes for if you have like special rules such as miracle dice or cabal points.
True.
Just explain, this is what they can do. I'm gonna roll these dice, and I'm looking for 5s or 6s or whatever, and I can use them for this purpose.
Yeah.
Just make and also perhaps place them at a side where it's easy for your opponent to see that what you have, so that they know, okay, I'm taking the dice out of this pool, and not just sort of something just happens and you don't know why.
No, agreed. And tell your opponent what you're rolling for when you roll.
Yeah.
I'm rolling to hit. I'm going to need a 3 to hit here.
Yeah.
Roll that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to roll to wound now. I'm going to need a 5. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone always knows what's going on. I just think it's the best way of having a good game.
It is, in my opinion as well.
Yeah.
And tip number 5 now. Game preparation.
Yeah.
Know your basis. Know the basic stuff of your army. Know how far your various units move, what their save is, the toughness is, all these basic things. Sure, you might not know the special ability of every single unit, and you might not even be able to remember that, but know the basis of your army, so you don't have to spend a ton of time checking that always during the game.
Yeah, that's important, because you don't have that much time. Of course, if you're, again, a new player, you are more than welcome to check everything like 100 times, and that's completely expectable, and that's just fine. But at a tournament, you only have a limited time available for each game. So you need to be not quick about it, but just know the baseline. And if you're someone like me, I have a terrible time memorizing stuff. So I have just written everything down on cheat sheets. So I have a cheat sheet with the title like movement, and then I've written down, okay, I have stuff that have 5 inches of movement, and then I've written every single model next to 5 inches. Then I've written 6 inches, and I write all the units that can move 6, and so on. And I have one for toughness and saves, and all sorts of things that I might need to be able to just reference really quickly. And I don't want to either look through all the cards that I have, because I think I have, 20 different units in my list or something. Yeah. So it takes a lot of time, and then I've placed one of the cards over there, and it takes a whole lot of time, or else I have to go look through the app or whatever. It's a lot easier to have like 5 cheat sheets where you can just reference the most basic stuff.
I mean, sure. I haven't used cheat sheets in a couple of years. But back in 7th, I think, was the last time I used one. I played the War Convocation of the Adeptus Mechanicus, which had all their war gear for free. Oh. And there was like a ton of war gear I didn't used to use. I didn't really know what it did. So I went to a tournament with that. I had a printed cheat sheet with every piece of war gear and labeled, and then what it did for every single one. It didn't really matter a whole lot, but I mean, it was nicer than me having to look it up all the time. Yeah. So I think your idea is very good there. Yeah, it's a very, very good way to look at it. And I mean, cheat sheet, it's just a fun word to look at.
It's a fun word. I have also done something that I think some people find a little bit blasphemous, which is I have written down stuff on the rim of the bases on the back of the models. So I have some models where it says how much movement do they have, what's their toughness, how many wounds, and so on. So it's simply written with a Sharpie on the back of the base of the model. And I know you would never do that.
I wouldn't do it, but I mean, it's a good idea. If you don't mind it on the basis like you don't,
I don't.
It's a very good idea actually, because you can easily change it if something changes, and it's a very easy way to remember. Oh, this Mossrock guy moves 10 inches, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Better make sure that I do that then.
Yeah, it's just I think it's an easy way also of it also helps me memorize stuff because I see it all the time then. Yeah. I see the back of the base of the Beast Boss and Squigosaur like 1,000 times now.
Close.
Yeah. So I see it all the time, and so it makes it easier for me to be really confident. Okay, I know how far this guy moves. Yeah. I know the toughness of this model because I've seen it so many times. And if I then somehow still feel like I'm not quite sure. I can look at the model, it's right there on the tabletop, or I can look on the cheat sheet. So just a way of making it even easier for me to make sure that I have the basic stuff in order, and that just also enables me to feel a little bit more confident when I start a game. Not confident that I'm gonna win, because I'm not, but confident that I'm going to be able to play an entire game of 40k in those, I think, 3.5 hours that were...
3 hours mostly.
Yeah, about 3 hours.
Have a little extra.
And I wasn't going to just like make everything go so slowly that we would only get to turn 2.
True. And I mean, it's a very good idea, and having it there helps. Mm-hmm. And if your opponent isn't sure that's right what you've written on your model, on your cheat sheet, you have your app or your codex or your cards with you. You can just quickly check it there and make sure, it is toughness 5 like I've written on the base. Not a problem. And that'll solve a lot of things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, knowing your basic stuff helps a lot. I played quite a few Apocalypse games in which people brought massive armies, 20,000 points of Imperial Guard or something, and they didn't know how a last gun worked, how far a guardsman moved, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a real long game now.
It was like not just a weekend; it was like the summer holidays.
Yeah,
before...
felt like it. I mean, just for even everyday games, just knowing your basic stuff always helps a lot.
Yeah, it does.
All right, we also have a couple of bonus tips actually, because 5 just wasn't good enough, but top 5 sounds a lot better. But these are fairly quick to run through. Tip number 1: take the day off afterwards.
Yeah,
you're probably gonna be smashed, entirely dead, and lost all energy.
Yeah,
going to work from that, terrible idea. Going to school, something terrible idea as well. Also, you might, due to the hall you're playing in being slightly cold, slightly warm, or maybe even shifting a lot between that, you might actually be a bit sick on the day after. It's just a normal modus operandi.
Yeah, it's just a good idea to take the day off if you're able to, because I know at least I felt like I was slightly hungover the day afterwards, and I know some people were like literally hungover because they had been drinking beer. I had only been drinking like Coke Zero. That was but I still felt like I was hungover. I was just so tired, and my head felt sort of foggy, and I was a little bit headachy, and so I wasn't really up for anything. I think I spent most of the day just sitting around, doing nothing at all, really. I thought I was gonna, paint and do some stuff, and I was just too tired.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah. And then we have the second bonus tip, which is if you are going to a tournament, and especially if it's the first time you're going and you don't really know a lot of people, see if you can bring a friend.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. Bring a friend, bring a buddy, bring somebody. It gives you somebody to chat to between games, somebody to possibly even travel with.
Yeah. Bring
down the expenses a bit. And just somebody that can cheer on you, and you can cheer on them, and you have somebody you at least know and feel safe around.
Yeah. Because it can actually be a little bit overwhelming, especially something like this where we had almost 200 people in just one big room, and if you don't know anyone and you've never been to a tournament before and you don't feel quite certain that you're up for it or whatever, it just feels nice to know that you have someone to rely on and talk to. And it's also, I think, something that I had perhaps underestimated a little bit going into this, that it was actually a lot of the fun was the preparation with the team. It is. That you have someone to talk about. Okay, so I think I'm gonna bring this, but it's not painted, and they'll be like, "Oh, you can do it." It's like you have like 3 days. Of course you can paint it.
You have an hour. Of course you can do that.
Yeah. It's no problem. And it was just a lot of fun. Yeah. The whole thing about going with friends and cheering each other on, and I was like, okay, so how many tanks have you already painted? How many tanks? Yeah, so it was just a fun thing, and being able to also recap afterwards, like how did it go? Where was that okay? And if you happen to have a bad matchup, I'm not meaning like you just lost, because that happens. But if for some reason it wasn't a fun game, you did not feel like you really clicked with your opponent, it was just you had some sort of bad experience, it's really nice to have someone where you can go and speak to, not trash talking the other person obviously, but just think that was really rough. I'm not feeling it right now. That was just not that fun.
Yeah, and it's somebody you can chat to and ask. He or she might play that army you just played against. Like, is this really true?
Yeah.
Damn, this is impressive.
Is this the way it works?
Wow, this is something.
Yeah.
And I mean, we brought the entire support group from the local area, basically.
Yeah.
I think we had like 4 or 5 teams and maybe a couple of guys in other teams as well there.
Yeah, we
so,
were
so,
quite
so
a
it's
lot of
basically
people.
most of the people in the local area from here.
I would also say if you're going as a woman in a more competitive setting in 40k, odds are probably that you're going to be very much in the minority. I think perhaps I was the only one, and perhaps we were 2 out of 190. I'm not quite sure.
Nah, if there was another, she might have played the Age of Sigmar game.
Yeah,
going on besides
I'm not quite sure, but I was definitely a minority.
Oh yes.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think if I had just been there on my own and not known anybody, I would have felt a little bit, not uncomfortable, because people were really friendly. I didn't feel like anyone was going, what are you doing here? Not at all. It wasn't an issue like that, but I would just have felt, I think, quite visible. Like I was like standing out a little bit from the crowd. And that's perhaps not the greatest feeling in the world, especially not if you're going for the first time and you're a little bit insecure just because of that. So it was just really nice going with the team and knowing, okay, I have some friends and I can always just go talk with them, and they'll help me out, and we have each other's backs. It was just a nice thing.
Very much so.
Yeah. So what did you think? Are you gonna go next year?
Well, I mean, if this was my 5th time, of course I'm going to go next year. Might do a bit more serious next year. I mean, I brought my Imperial Guard. I brought a very obscure list, and it was basically an excuse for me to paint my army. And I love the things I've done with them, but they didn't do very well. I mean, I ran into some we call them eating the bus.
Yeah.
If you have if you eat a very terrible matchup for your entire team, and you just go, I have nothing really good to meet in this team. I'll take that terrible list for you guys, so you guys get better matchups. I did that, I think, 4 times or something.
Yeah,
it was a bit rough.
Yeah,
but yeah, sure. I'm always gonna go.
Yeah, and you're gonna bring your Chaos Demons?
That's heresy. No.
Martin is very famous in the local community. He only does Imperial stuff, and then for some reason Eldar, which makes no sense.
I mean, we don't talk about that.
Okay.
The Lord Commander says they're okay.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up.
Fair. No, but how about you?
Yeah, you know what? I was so tired last weekend. I was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna do this again. I was really, really exhausted.
Yeah.
But now that I have had time to sleep and just, not feel like I'm hungover anymore, I definitely want to go again.
That's good too.
I think I've also learned a lot, because as I said, this was my first sort of competitive 40k tournament, and I'm definitely no good. I was like really wiped from the from the board multiple times. But I know now that I want to bring a slightly more competitive list, not because I want to win, because I'm definitely not even close to being good enough to be at the top tables at all. But I know that the list I brought, I knew before going there that it wasn't an optimal list, and now I know, okay, it would be fun to bring just a slightly better list, because I had a lot of times in the games where I felt like, okay, it's sort of like the game is asking a question and I don't have an answer. I don't have anything to really, I can't really bring anything to the table. I can't really do anything, and it was just not as fun as I think it would have been to feel like, okay, I have these options. These are the things I can do. And I also think, of course, that will come with more experience. But I also think a slightly better list might be.
Definitely. I mean, my list, like the best gun I had was like a strength 10 gun.
Yeah.
And that was a problem at several points during the games.
Yeah.
So yeah, improving your list always helps a lot. Obviously, there's a year till the next time, so we might actually be better players by then. Who knows?
We need to play all the time.
That's gonna get exhausting.
Yeah.
And we need to play Age of Sigmar as well.
Yeah, we need to play Age of Sigmar as well, which is also fun.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah. So, but I had a good time, and I knew that, as I said, my list wasn't optimal, and a lot of really nice people had said, oh, you can borrow stuff from me. I have some trucks you can borrow, but I wanted to bring my own list, and I want to say for myself at least, that was just a part of the fun to bring the Bubblegum Boys, and they were all my models, and I painted them all, and that was just, a great part of the experience as well.
Yeah, and I heard those Bubblegum Boys, they might not have won the tournament, but they did something else, I heard.
Yeah, they were sort of nominated for best painted. So there were five armies out of the
190 armies.
Yeah, that were nominated for best painted, and then you had to put up all your models on a table at the entrance, and people could look at them, and then they could each team had a vote.
Yeah, each team captain could vote for their team for the one to win.
Yeah. So
and through the grapevine, I heard something about your boys there.
Yeah, they also happened to win.
Oh, they did.
Yes.
But your army is very, very beautiful.
Thank you.
It's very cool.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
I had really hoped, I had dared to hope that they might get a nomination, but I definitely didn't think they could win because there were some really cool armies there. Some that were beautifully painted and some that were expertly modeled and converted and stuff. So there were, some people just brought something and it very obviously just been painted three colors and ready for the tabletop. But a lot of people had put in a ton of effort in their armies as well.
True.
Which was actually another great thing about just being there, seeing all these different armies and color schemes and ways of approaching the hobby. That was really fun.
Yeah, you tend to see a lot of various things there.
Yeah, but I think it was fun. I'm still slightly tired, but perhaps we can start preparation next week.
One never knows.
So those were our takes on the 40k team championships or the qualifications for the VTC. So if you have any questions or comments or anything, just let us know and we'll try to get back to you.
Yeah.
And of course, always remember, if you want to support Dice and Demons over on Patreon, I will leave a link to that in the show notes. And I, of course, very much appreciate it if you want to do so. You can also follow me as Dice and Demons over on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now it's X for some reason. And also over on Instagram as well. So is there any way they can find you?
Not really, no. I tend to comment on a lot of your posts on X, and I'm in the Dice and Demons group in Facebook as well.
Yeah, so you can look him up.
Yeah.
If you want to chat to Martin as well.
I'll probably answer the questions in the comment field here as well.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time, and perhaps Martin will want to join us as well.
You never know.
So thank you for coming.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Sure. Bye.
Bye.